I'm Noreen and welcome to my kitchen, and today I'm making whole wheat bread using whole fresh milled flour, white wheat flour from my Wondermill. And I wanted to show you how I make this because this recipe is a compilation and a creation of a lot of different recipes that I've come across and a lot of help from a lot of ladies on Facebook and the internet. And I have created this delicious, squishy, soft, lofty, beautiful, fresh bread. You're going to love it. Let's go see how we make this. Alright, we're going to get started on making this home milled whole wheat sandwich bread, and I guarantee you, you will have success if you do it the way I'm showing you today. I would like to preface this by saying, the first time I made bread using home milled flour, we could have just used them as doorstops or thrown some mortar together and built a barbecue out of it, because it was really, I mean, it looked pretty, it didn't taste bad, but it was heavy and dense, and I knew I could do better. So there are so many people on Facebook and Instagram who really gave me some fantastic input, and I really want to say thank you. There were so many of you. I'm not going to name any of you, but you know who you are. You really did give me some great guidance. I did a bit of research on my own end, and I've come up with this way of doing this. Is nothing new, is just the way that works the best for me. So what I have in my Bosch, and I will also preface this by saying, if you have a KitchenAid of any kind, you are going to need to cut this recipe in half or in fourths, because your KitchenAid, no matter what size you have, is not going to handle this recipe. Okay, this recipe is going to make 6 loaves of bread for me. If you want to make a 2-pound loaf, it's going to make 5 2-pound loaves of bread, but 2-pound loaf is a little bit large for me, so I like to cut it back to about 1.5 pound because I like that size better. So 6 cups of warm water. Into that I have 2/3 of a cup of coconut oil and 2/3 of a cup of honey. Measure your oil before you measure your honey, and your honey will slide right out of your measuring cup, just like that. Now we're going to add 3 tablespoons of SAF instant yeast, just like that. And we're going to use 6 cups of our whole wheat milled flour. 6 cups, or thereabouts. When you're making bread like this, especially this way, measurements don't have to be quite as exact, because the bread's going to come together and you'll know when it's ready. That's 5. And there's 6. Alright. I'm going to put the collar on here. And I'm just going to mix it up. Okay. I'm going to just take my spatula and I'm going to run it around the sides of the bowl. I'm going to mix it some more. Okay. Now, what you've created is called your sponge. Now, in traditional bread baking, you make a sponge, and then you just add your flour as needed until the flour absorbs all the liquid. So what we've created here is our sponge. And you're going to want to put the lid on it and walk away from it for about 30 minutes or until it's doubled. So we're going to do that right now. I'm going to go take care of some stuff. I'm going to come back and I'm going to show you what happens, because this is what is going to make your bread lofty, beautiful, and soft. Alright, we've let this sit for about half an hour. Let's see if I can get this off of here. There we go. That is what you want it to look like. You see how it's bubbling and churning? That means you're ready to move on. It smells so good. Okay, I'm just going to knock this down.
It's alive.
It is alive. And it sounds great. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to add our amendments. So I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of dough enhancer. Now, I get mine from Honeyville. You can find them in other places. I'll show you what it looks like. This is what it looks like. It has all sorts of good stuff in it, including vitamin C, and that makes your yeast very happy. Okay, we're also going to add 2 tablespoons of Vital Wheat gluten.
So this is not gluten-free?
No, this is not gluten-free.
Far from it.
And a tablespoon of salt. And then we've put 6 cups of milled white wheat flour, and I'm gonna just turn this on low, and I'm gonna start letting it go, and we're gonna put in 6 cups of all-purpose flour. Okay, I'm just gonna start. That was 3 cups of all-purpose flour. 4, 5, 6. Now, I like to do 1/3 all-purpose, 2/3 whole wheat. Now,
You can hear it bogging it down.
okay, I'm going to turn it up.
And this would kill your KitchenAid.
It absolutely would. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come in here with my spat, and I'm just going to give it a scrape. Much too sticky still. I'm going to turn it back on. I have it on a 2 right now. And the secret is to keep adding flour until the dough pulls away from the side. And remember, the amount of flour that you need to add is going to be commensurate to the humidity in the air, if it's raining that day, etc., etc. We're almost there.
You don't go too fast. You have to give it time to cool.
That's right. Oh, mix it and don't do it too fast. Give it time to absorb. There is a trick to telling when you've added just enough flour. I'm going to take the collar off so I can show you. You can see the curve of the bowl, and you can see that now this dough is starting to pull away and turn into a cohesive mass. That's when you know you've added enough flour. Now, I'm going to put the lid on it, and I'm going to let this knead for 6 minutes. Okay, we're ready, and one thing I like to do is just drizzle a little bit of vegetable oil down the side of the bowl. That's going to help me get it out a lot easier. Alright, now spray your work surface where you're going to tip out your dough, and spray your hands as well. I'm going to take the dough hook out. Now, you're going to think that this bread dough is too sticky, and it's not, so don't worry about it because it will end up being perfect. You don't want it to be so dry that it can't rise, and it's going to be heavy and just awful. Okay, now because we put that oil in there, watch what happens. A nearly clean bowl. And that is exactly what you want it to look like. Alright, so now we'll give this a little bit of a knead here, just to make it behave a little. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get my scale, and I'm going to start to divide these into 1.5 pound pieces of dough. Okay, I'm just finishing up weighing my dough. This one's going to be my biggest one, and this is 1 pound and 10.5 ounces, so, or almost 11 ounces, but it's all right. This one will be the showpiece. So there we have 6 approximately equal pieces of dough. I really feel like it's super important to scale your bread simply from the perspective of, you know, proportions, and you're going to have the same size loaf no matter what. I'm I have my oven preheated to 300 and, well actually I have it preheated to 400 degrees. And then we're just going to shape our loaves. Just like that. Ta-da. I'm just going to set these off to the side on top of my stove. I'll show you how I shape that. I like to spray my pans with coconut oil. Make sure you spray them generously and don't wash them. I do not wash my bread pans. I just kind of flatten it out a bit, fold it into the middle, fold it into the middle, fold it into the middle again, and then roll it onto itself. This dough is so beautiful and pliable and moist. You can just lay it right in there. I like to give it a little smoosh down on the top just to even it out. Spray it on the top. You're good to go. Okay, I'll shape one more for you. Spray your pan. Take your piece of dough. Fold it into the middle. Fold it into the middle. Fold it into itself. And then give it a roll on the seam side. And at the same time that you do that, I'll slow it down. Take your pinkies and kind of mash down those ends. And it's going to be a perfectly shaped piece of dough. Just like that. Take your knuckles. Kind of tap it down. Spray it. Put it on your stove. I'm going to go ahead and shape the rest of these. But before I go, if you are not using a Bosch mixer, after we knead the dough, you're going to need to let it rise for an hour. Then you're going to deflate it, weigh it, divide it, shape it, and pan it. If you have a Bosch, you can eliminate that first rise because the mixer blends the dough so well that it is not necessary for you to do the first rise. You just mix it, knead it, shape it, and pan it. That's it. We'll be back. There's all of our loaves all panned up and ready to take a rest. We are going to let these rest for about 30 minutes until they are doubled in size and just crown the edge of the pan. What I like to do is just take some parchment paper and give it a light cover. I also in the past have used plastic shower bonnets. I am out of them right now and have to make a trip to the beauty supply store. So I'm going to let these rest for about 30 minutes. I am going to set my timer because when I'm busy, I tend to forget to pay attention to them. And over-rising is just as bad as not rising long enough. So I'm going to go ahead and let these rest half an hour. We'll be back before we put them in the oven, which I am preheating to 400 degrees. All right, it has been a half an hour, 30 minutes, and we're ready to put these in the oven. Now, you want to carefully place these in your oven so that you don't burn yourself.
Again.
I burn myself all the time, so this is not a big surprise. Okay, so what I like to do is I like to put them in the oven like this because you can put 6 loaves in my oven, thusly, side by side. I like them all on the same rack, just like that. Pop them in. My oven is at 400 degrees. I am now going to turn it down to 350. This gives the bread that initial burst of heat, and it's going to slowly reduce to 350, and then you're going to leave them in the oven for 30 to 35 minutes. I'm going to check them at 30 minutes, and I'll be back when it's time to take them out. Alrighty, these are ready to come out. They were in there for 30 minutes, and I figured because I made smaller loaves, they would only take about 30 minutes. So I will tell you that halfway through, I pulled them all out, And I put the ones that were in the back in the front, and I flipped them 180 degrees. So that way they would cook more evenly, and not all of them would be close to the side of the oven for an extended period of time. And you have to think about that. They're gorgeous. I'm just depanning these. I like to take my bread out of the pan right away. And you can see it's beautiful, it's soft, it's perfect, okay? So now I'm gonna get some butter. I just like to run this butter right over the top like that. Don't slice into it too soon because it will tear and it will be ugly, and it always slices better after it's cooled completely. So try and keep your kids and your husband out of it. Was that a grunt? No grunting. We used to yell at our kids for grunting. So then we'll be back when we want to slice into one of these loaves, and we'll show you what it looks like. All right, our bread is done. It cooled for a little bit, and then I had to slice into it because, you know, quality control is just as important in your home kitchen as it is anywhere else. So this is beautiful, soft sandwich bread. You are going to love it. I'm going to show you what it looks like here. Okay. Look it. It's beautiful and tender and squishy and everything you want a sandwich bread to be. And it is still a little bit warm, so you just let that melt on in there. Here.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It is delicious. You are going to love this bread. It's super easy and super delicious. I don't recommend using like wheat flour from the store to do this. This is really a great recipe if you're using home milled flour, because the wheat flour at the store has been processed, and pretty much all the heavy duty stuff that's in there that we've used the amendments to kind of boost into rising up nice and soft like this aren't gonna do it for you.
So is it like a honey wheat?
It is a honey wheat because it's sweetened with honey, but you can sweeten it with whatever you like. You can use sugar, brown sugar, you can use agave nectar, molasses. It doesn't have to, you don't have to be restricted to the honey. But the honey is kind of a preservative in its own right, and it does help keep the bread nice and soft for a period of time. Now, we're going to eat this in a couple of days.
Or today.
Or today. The rest of the loaves, I have 4, one I'm giving away, will be wrapped when they're completely cool, and they'll be put in the freezer. And then I'll just take them out as I need them. So I probably won't have to bake bread for 2 weeks. So that's how I make my home-milled whole wheat honey wheat bread. I hope that this was helpful, and I hope if you are considering getting a grain mill to grind your own wheat, I hope that you'll do that. Because you can make beautiful, squishy, whole wheat bread that your family's going to love using home milled flour.
I vouch for it.
I am planning on doing several other recipes with this as a base. And we're going to do some oatmeal bread, and we're going to do some 9-grain bread and some 6-grain bread. We're going to do some barley bread and some oatmeal bread. It's going to be a lot of fun. And some Ezekiel bread. So stay tuned to my channel. If you are not subscribed, please consider hitting the subscribe button. And I hope that you try this, and I hope that you love it. And until next time, I'll see ya. For joining me in my kitchen today. I hope you liked what you watched today, and I hope that you try it, and I hope that you love it. If you like what you saw, please consider hitting a thumbs up button and giving me a positive rating. And also, make sure that you hit the subscribe button if you're already not a subscriber so that you don't miss out on any of the fun we have here in our kitchen every single day. I hope that you enjoyed it. I'm really glad that you're here. Thank you for stopping by. Don't forget to come by tomorrow. Until next time, happy eating.